present something that is very purely Moldovan experience. In fact, when we tried to work on this very interesting and very difficult piece of analysis, well, the first idea that came is to make scenarios very easy. Everyone makes scenario every day, 100 of them. At the same time, it's very difficult because only a few of them might become reality. And the main question when we put scenario on the paper is where this scenario, what are the indicators that distinguish bad and good scenario, real and fantastic. It's also very dangerous because, as previous speakers told, your friends often do not see your warning signals, but the enemy pick up it very easily because they are on the same problem, on the same issue, and they are focusing on what is important for them. Democracy, in fact, is very weak in scenarios, and more important, they are weak in conducting the scenario to the ends. Because scenario in our world is 1 million pieces of different elements, and only a centralized structure of power can somehow control and lead all these pieces to something that is intended from the very beginning. The others will adapt every couple of days, saying, well, this adapt to a new another scenario. Scenarios of, or indicators of eventual Russian aggression to Ukraine started to become evident not in 2009. They started to become evident in 2001, in 2002, in 2004, more and more in 2005 and so on. In 2000, what happened? Well, we might just pick up some of the examples from this history and to look at what we consider or might consider important. I might remember a joke when regarding the Second World War. Russian intelligence was focusing on looking at the eventual threats coming from Germany. They were looking at Hünpele Uleiul care se șterge arma, and the crisis of wool. Because in the understanding of Russia, generals, Germany will not attack Russia if they will not prepare for a winter war. So special equipment need to be made, special prepared. Then let's look for that and focus on that. And they were ignoring other signals. So every people, in fact, when we try to make analysis and suppositions or scenarios, it's very difficult to try to keep our own understanding and way of thinking, values, principles, and to put ourselves on the basis of our eventual enemies. It was very difficult for all signals coming from Russia to be understood by Europeans, European democracies, because they cannot understand how such kind of signals can be a signal of war. No. As our speaker said, it was a nice guy. But in 2004, for example, 22 cadet schools have been founded only in Moscow. Cadet school meaning training or preparing the future military students. 22 schools. That was not passed in the military budget. That was in the budget of the Ministry of Education. Half of them. Since 2004, military budget of Russia permanently increased. But we have not seen that in the army. The salary was kept the same. Where the budget was going? To the military complex. But why are you investing in the military complex? To produce arms. And this is a very logic, let's say, processes of preparing the war. The war are not prepared in one day. And the pieces are not prepared in one day. But in our Western way of thinking, we are thinking, well, we are looking for peace, and we are credible when Russian politicians are talking about fighting, we are fighting for peace, but they do not say after, until the end of our soldiers, until the last soldiers, until our bullets. In 2009, military budget increased fast. Since 2009 until now, we have a 3 times increase of military budget in Russia. And for the next year, you do not see any signals that military budget decreased. The question mark is, for what reason? What is going to be? What is going to happen? My first understanding of Syrian operation of Russian armed forces is not because of other, okay, there are many factors played for that, but one also, it was that the military stocks of missiles and weaponry for air forces are over. They needed to use because the military complex is producing every year. This has not been stopped so far. When you are producing and producing and producing, another element. We were talking that since 2009, and mostly since 2013-14, all people understood that the old-fashioned war are not valid for analysis. Because the war, we forgot that the war is not a question of only army. The war is a question of the state. And when you're looking for the war, when you're looking for winning the war, all the elements, all the state institutions are involved. It's not the only army who will be responsible to win the campaign, not at all. So it's not a surprise. For many of us, it was, well, it's a big surprise. How this propaganda, gas, taking control of the markets, energy, and so on and so on. It's nothing new. It's in 2000 history of military thinking. Just 3. It's a new way of looking at the world. We are looking for the peace and democracy, so it's a Western way of thinking, values, people, citizens. For us, it's very difficult somehow to concentrate on the security and defense, because that does not offer votes. None of the politicians will go to political campaign and say, I will increase the budget of the army. The question will be, why are we going to war? Not to defense, but there is no evidence. How to explain that we will take the money from medicines, from children, from teachers, and to put it, that's not a question for a centralized power of Russia. And taking into account the examples that I gave, there are many parts of preparation for war that are hidden in the budget of other institutions. It's a tactics, it's a strategy that has been used, this kind of tools have been used starting from 32, 33, 34, in Russia the same. So the same tools, with the same objective, with the same goals. Moldova, unfortunately, in all this game, is not a player. It has no proactive role. It has no active role. It's very weak. It's very weak from many points of view. And our efforts to somehow to take the attention of our political leadership and the governments to look more closely at what's going on our governance and the security sector in general, on eventual efficiency and preparing different scenarios for different, preparing different actions for different scenarios, are not so successful. Moldova has many problems, but I was just talking a couple that might be very important for Romania also, and for Ukraine is somehow, when they are in the middle of very hard process that they're looking very closely at all their problems, and they see them very easy. Well, the division of authority between the governments, who is responsible for whom? How the central governments, the presidency, might concentrate all the effort of the state and lead responses to what is now, we call it hybrid war. That is the first and the biggest challenge for Moldova. And that is the target of our friends. All that is going all around political parties in Moldova and our presidency and its weaknesses is in fact without the help of our friends from Kremlin. Second, insufficient political will in addressing security issues. It's very difficult to make you be understood by politicians when they have to translate your words somehow differently after closing the doors. Because you go to the electorate and you need to talk and to explain something different. That is the biggest and permanent gap between the military and civilians, military and politicians. Because military has something very precise, clear, I can shot, I cannot. And the politician needs somehow to convince the electorate and all the political parties that we need to put some money aside and offer to the military some other tools. It's our also already an old weakness. It's a misunderstanding of the concept of democratic control of the armed forces, over the armed forces. Our politicians, I was looking at the examples in different countries, I was surprised to see that only in a couple of parliaments, the concept of parliamentary control is well understood and implemented. Sometimes many notions and principles that we bring from the West and try to implement in our country are very bad translated and even badly implemented. Our politicians in Moldova understand political control as just being able to knock at the door of the military units, facility, to have the door open, to go inside, to take some soups from military, from soldiers, and say yes, it's good or it's not. So to look at their socks or shoes and just that's fine. But having no responsibility at all after the decisions they take in favor of the security. Another question is how to integrate all the elements, and we are coming back to the presidential or parliamentary structure, the weaknesses and strong points. Moldova is not in a position of Romania with a little bit much more structured central power. I mean the president as commander-in-chief with the National Security Council taking decisions that are valid all around the territory and are mandatory for all state institutions. It's not the case in Moldova. So unfortunately, the biggest question when we look in Moldova about how Moldova will be able to respond to the challenges is who is in charge? Who is in charge? So I will stop here. It's a couple or a number of indicators that I may consider important when we look for different scenarios. I'm not exploring the scenarios that have been developed in the book because it's it's a work of trying to put together different pieces of puzzles that might work or might not work. And I was trying just to say, to look at the indicators that might destroy one, third, fourth scenario, but might enable the fifth one to come to the end. And that it might consider it might be the more important one to have in mind when we read it. Thank you.
Thank you. I will invite Mr. Mehra. Mr. Mehra is a professor and a general of the Romanian Army. He was also the coordinator of the National Committee for Information.
hybrid warfare, lawfare, and intelligence. And I'd like to make some connections and to say something about these kind of things. The definition of war, it's an armed conflict. Always it's connected with armed conflict. This was when the people giving definition and all the theoreticians, they tried they understood armed just a kinetic action. Now, it's not only kinetic, it's non-kinetic actions, which it means non-kinetic aggressions, cyber warfare, and just parts of the hybrid warfare, or information warfare, and so on. For this reason, was necessary very much to understand these kind of issues and to see them in the current conflicts. Because unfortunately, the conflicts and the war in Ukraine is like a book, unfortunately. Because you can find here everything different from different points of view. We can find here a fourth generation conflict. We can find here a hybrid conflict, lawfare, and cyber warfare, information warfare, unfortunately everything. And for this reason, it's very important in the way how people see the world today and the aggression and enemies and so on, because every kind of action for democratic countries must be supported by international laws. I said for every democratic countries. In this case, for example, in NATO was a big debate what it means armed attack, connected with Article 5, because it's armed attack against one country, it's an armed attack against the whole alliance, all the NATO countries. But what is armed attack? Finally, it was fully agreed that cyber attack, it's an armed attack. From my discussion with a very high-level person from NATO, I asked them how to respond to a cyber warfare. I cannot send my kilobytes against him or terabytes. And the answer was with any means. It means that for a cyber attack, you can, in NATO, answer with this kind of any activity. On the other side, it's, I ask people if an energy cutoff or ban the milk derivatives or wine and so on, is this an armed attack? And who will decide if this is armed or not? The answer was NATO. I'd like to see this in the future, but up to now, at least from a theoretical point of view, this is done. It's very clear. Now, how is the answer? Because we can see very much, and everybody is talking about hybrid warfare in Ukraine. It's absolutely true. What is the difference between fourth generation warfare, and hybrid warfare? Fourth generation warfare, it's a warfare in the whole society. But stop here. It's in fourth generation warfare can be financial warfare, can be economical warfare, and so on, any kind of them. But here it's the fourth generation warfare, it's up here. From here, when in this fourth generation warfare are included criminal activities, terrorists, use of detainees from jails to free them and to use them in an armed attack, as was happening in eastern Ukraine. Now we are moving to the hybrid warfare. It means that hybrid warfare, it's a fourth generation warfare which includes criminal activities. In this case, it's very important how to answer. How to answer to hybrid warfare. Some people would say we have to answer with the retaliate with the hybrid warfare. It's not possible. If a country, it's a democratic country, cannot use the means of hybrid warfare. Fourth generation warfare, yes, or at least some components. For example, in information warfare, one of the most effective tools are the manipulation. Manipulation, it means, and there are some people here knowing better than me, manipulation, it means to influence the mind of the people. What is the background for the manipulation? Lack of education, or there are people with a high level of education but can be manipulated. Generally, the weakness of the human being. To be afraid, to be scared, and so on. The manipulation is the wrong side of the information world. How to answer to manipulation? With persuasion. Persuasion, it means to convince somebody. It means that to move and to convince somebody what is the reality, what is true. But to convince somebody, you need the background. Which one is the background? The security education. And more than that, and I will explain to you later, the intelligence education of the people. It means that people has to help, the citizen has to help himself to be more secure. But how to do? How to observe something wrong around you? You have to educate. On the other side, the real recognition or the real answer for the hybrid warfare are two: diplomacy and intelligence. It's very difficult to find another means, at least, and this is for general hybrid warfare. For military component, it's very clear. Military component reacts to military component. It's simple. Oh, it's not so simple, but at least from theoretical point of view, it's simple. But what is the most important thing? It's to combine diplomacy and intelligence. Intelligence, what it means? Intelligence, it means, and to be more effective, first of all, cooperation. Cooperation between intelligence services, not only in the international arena, but inside countries. Foreign intelligence can give the early warning that hybrid warfare would be effective in your country. But inside intelligence, national intelligence, inside the country, the counterintelligence, must protect the signals and the signs that are coming from external intelligence. Who has to coordinate this? Intelligence communities. Intelligence communities has to coordinate all the intelligence activities, national intelligence activities. On the other side, it's very important that companies to be ready to defend themselves. And look, we are now in a competitive intelligence or counter-competitive intelligence or business intelligence. All these intelligence capabilities being together could give not only the early warning, but to succeed to fight against hybrid warfare. On the other side, it's very important intelligence services to work with experts, because only an expert could see that something wrong is happening in the, let's say, energetic system of a country, or in financial system. How to work with experts? All the experts must have the intelligence education for them to understand that if they see, to understand what it means hybrid warfare, and if they see something, it's wrong, or it's coming to be worse, it's very important to discuss with somebody, with an expert in protecting their capabilities, infrastructure first. On the other side, it's very important to gain intelligence about the preparation, not targets, because it's very difficult, but for what they prepare. They, it means the enemy, or somebody who wants to aggress a country. I'll give you an example. General Gerasimov, Chief of General Staff of the United States, in a speech he spoke about what should be the future of warfare. We found the response in Crimea with that small green people and so on. This was not said exactly like that, but this kind of capabilities they've been there. And something else that I'd like to tell you, it's about lawfare. Lawfare is the war of laws. Lawfare is to find a legal cover for aggression. And always to find the solutions, the legal solutions to say, as it's written in the United Nations Charter. For example, in Crimea, there was not, as Russians said, it's not exactly true, there was not a shooting. There was nobody killed. How this could be considered an armed attack against the country? This is how to use the cover, and this is lawfare. It's the most, the worst part of the law, because this can cover any, or almost any aggression. These are things that we have to have into consideration. Other kind of things like proxy war is depending from which side you can see and what you would like to prove. And these are not analyses, these are speculations. When you try to put together some evidences, but only with the final target that you know this before. Analysis, it means to put together, but not knowing from the beginning, or at least at the middle, what is my target and what is my conclusion. I wanted just to precise them because we find them, all of them, as I said, unfortunately, in Ukraine, and to the aim to predict what will happen, we have to understand exactly what is happening today. Thank you.